Jeffries as Marion Kirby, the ghostess with the mostess. Robert Sterling as George Kirby, that most sportive spirit. And Leo G. Carroll, host to said ghosts, as Topper. Cosmo Topper, preparing to usher in the new year. You think that's the spirit of 76? Wrong. They're the spirits of 55. George and Marion Kirby and their alcoholic dog, Neil. They were killed in a skiing accident and have come back to haunt Topper. Only Topper can see and hear them. And half the time, even he can't believe what he sees.
You have your dates all mixed, haven't you?
Hmm?
This is New Year's Eve, not the 4th of July.
Well, we were going to a costume party.
Yeah, but we had an accident.
But see here, you've got the spirit of 76 all wrong. The one with the bandage should be carrying the flag, and the one playing the fife should be on the other side.
Topper, that's not a fife that Neil's playing. That's a thermometer.
And that's not a bandage, it's an ice towel.
He started celebrating a little too early.
Oh, well, what he needs is the hair of the dog that bit him. Or in his case, vice versa.
Oh, don't give him anything.
Why, can't he hold his liquor anymore?
He can't even hold his ectoplasm. Hey, look, he's fading away.
Great heavens. Is there anything I can do?
Yes, you can stay here till we get back.
But Henrietta and I are going to a party. The Schuyler's are picking us up in a few minutes.
Topper, darling, you don't understand. Each year is a fresh year. We need a new supply of ectoplasm.
We have to haunt the first person we see.
Darling, that's why we want you to be here alone, so we can see you first.
The Schuylers are here. I recognize their ring.
Oh, well, you go on ahead, dear. I've got to stay here for a while on bank business.
Now, what kind of business could the bank have on New Year's Eve?
An ectoplasm withdrawal.
That does sound important. But I hate to let you out of my sight after what happened last New Year's.
Oh, don't worry, dear. I promise not to do anything ridiculous or embarrassing. I'll leave here not later than 11 o'clock. Hmm?
Sure, Topper. We'll all be back by 11.
With a fresh load of ectoplasm. Here, Topper, you hold my drum.
Cosmo, what on earth are you doing with that drum?
Well, I told you. At 11 o'clock, I'm going to beat it.
I'm terribly sorry to bother you, but may I use your telephone?
Why, certainly. Well, please come in.
I'm afraid I'll have to call a garage. I'm having a little trouble with my car.
Oh, if there's anything I can do to help.
I have a flat tire.
The telephone is over here.
I appreciate you driving me home, Mr. Schuyler.
Oh, not at all, not at all.
I want to see that Cosmo is all right. I worry about him so. Do you think that's foolish of me?
Not if he told you he was working on bank business. I know better than that. It's my bank, and there is no business.
But he may be doing something that you don't know anything about.
Well, that's why I'm driving over the speed limit.
You aren't suggesting that Cosmo fibbed. Surely there have been occasions when you told Mrs. Schuyler that you were working late on bank business?
Oh, many, many times, but I've so much hair on my head you can't see the scars.
Oh, I hope Topper's still home.
Honey, he said he'd wait. He wouldn't break a promise.
Oh, there he is. The poor darling. I'll bet he's been worried sick about us.
Yeah, so sick he had to have a visiting nurse.
Thank you so much, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Oh, you're back.
Who was that, Topper?
That wasn't Father Time that just walked out of here.
Oh, that's enough of your flippancies. But you've had your ectoplasm recharged. Let me look at you. Where's Neil?
Well, he'll have to know sooner or later.
Find out what?
Excuse me. Come on in, Neil.
Good old Neil. Materialize.
He can't.
You see, we ran into an ectoplasm shortage.
We had to queue up down at the ectoplasm bank, and Neil was at the tail end of the line.
All he got was his tail.
And that won't last long.
All the rest of the dog ectoplasm has been curtailed.
I just don't understand.
We could explain it, Topper, but it's so technical.
Well, he can still bark.
Oh, the bark is the last to go.
Poor Neil. He's leaving us forever. But let's not cry. Let's be gay. Neil would want it that way.
A farewell party.
We'll laugh. And drink a toast to him.
I don't feel very jolly. I'm afraid I'm not much of a Pagliacci.
Laugh, Topper. Betray gay. So much fun.
Speech.
To Neil, sic transit gloria.
To Neil, top dog in our hearts, to the very end.
To Neil. Wherever we go, we know he won't be far behind.
Oops, I'll say he won't be far behind. He's lost another inch.
Oh, he's sinking fast. Quick, give him a bottle so he can make a toast.
He's trying to tell us something.
What?
Oh, he wants us to follow him.
Well, come on.
You stay here, Topper, and don't move till we get back.
Back so soon?
Sorry to bother you again, but I left my purse by the telephone.
Oh, no bother at all. Please come in.
Well, I wouldn't want to interrupt anything.
Oh, you're not? I'm all alone here.
Oh? I was afraid I was intruding on a party.
Oh, dear me, no. What on earth gave you the idea I had company?
I can't imagine.
Are they fixing your tire?
Oh, yes, it'll take some 10 or 15 minutes.
Oh, well, then you mustn't stand out there in the cold. Let me offer you a glass of champagne.
Working late on bank business, indeed. Why, that wheeze is older than the bank. Our founding fathers used it until they were found out.
I trust Cosmo implicitly. He does peculiar things, I'll admit, but I've never caught him in a lie.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Never caught him.
It's a cold night. Have another glass. It'll keep you warm.
Thank you.
Well, this is much better than sitting in a parked car, isn't it?
Much.
Henrietta, Mr. Schuyler, I thought you were at the party. Oh, this is Miss,
Smith. Mrs. Smith.
How do you do? I'm Mrs. Topper.
She came back to get her gloves.
Back?
Well, I had a flat tire, and Mr. Topper was kind enough to let me use the telephone.
Yes, he's very kind. Cosmo, I'm going upstairs to fix my face. You might do the same. May I show you the door?
Thank you. And thank you again, Mr. Topper.
It was a pleasure.
Hair mask, tie loose, lipstick. Topper, I'm the president of the bank. I'm your superior. I'm the man who signs all your checks. I think you know how I feel about a thing like this. I like to be invited.
Well, you surely can't use the telephone. Marion got this lipstick on me.
Marion? Oh, yes. She's one of those convenient little ghosts you're always talking about.
Oh, Marion isn't little. Oh, she's that tall. And she's shaped like a...
Tupper, tell me something. Why is it that you're the only person who can see these ghosts? Why can't I see something shaped like this?
Well, as a matter of fact, it has something to do with ectoplasm. That's where they are now, hunting up a whole lot of new dog ectoplasm.
The animal shelter. That's where Neil was leading us. Oh, look at all those lovely animals.
Yeah. We ought to be able to match Neil's ectoplasm in here, all right. Uh-oh. It's getting shorter, honey.
How much time do we have?
About 4 inches.
Hey, what's in here? Oh, he's cute.
That dachshund hasn't got enough ectoplasm to fill Neil's hind foot. Besides, we don't want Neil going around barking with a German accent.
Oh, look at the sweet little kitty. It's a wood kitty.
Neil says the whole idea smells. Uh-oh. 3 inches. 2 inches. 1 inch. Going. Gone.
Hey, look, it's Neil.
No, it isn't. Neil's gone. This is the ringer. See, his name is Otto.
Well, we can borrow his ectoplasm for Neil. Hurry up, George. Get him out of there.
Okay.
That's Neil's bark, but where is he? How did Neil get inside that horse?
Close the door, Marion.
What are you going to do?
I don't know, but I have to do it in a hurry.
Take care of that dog, Topper. George is in trouble at the animal shelter.
Well, let's say it's just psychic phenomena.
Where'd that monster come from?
Oh, that's Neil. He, Say, can you see him, too?
Well, how can I miss him? He's as big as an elephant.
What color is he?
Well, he's brown and white.
Condor! Oh, my. What is that beast doing in the house?
Henrietta, you can see him?
I'm not blind.
He isn't really a dog, you know.
He isn't?
No, he's a ghost. He must have got too much ectoplasm. Pretty soon he'll fade away, then I'll be the only one who can see him.
We've got to find a psychiatrist quick. But don't let him suspect he might get violent. Oh, Topper, we're going back to the party. You take your time.
I'll be along shortly.
Mr.
Shh. Let's see what he's going to do. Trying to feed the dog Jim.
But I demand that you release my husband this very instant. Obviously, there's been a ghastly mistake.
Mrs. Topper.
It hasn't been an hour since we left him at home, so he couldn't possibly have committed all the crimes you charge him with.
He hasn't been charged with any.
Mr. Schuyler and I were looking for a psychiatrist.
Mrs. Topper.
When I was notified that he was arrested, I was horrified. It's most humiliating to find him here, of all places.
Mrs. Topper, considering your husband's activities, I should think this would be the only place you'd expect to find him. If memory serves, it was precisely at this same time last New Year's Eve that Officer Martin was forced to perform a similar constabulary duty.
That's right, Your Honor. He seems to go nuts every New Year's Eve.
That's not true. Cosmo is the same all year round. You see, my husband believes he's haunted by 3 ghosts.
Madam, the law does not permit a wife to testify against her husband.
But I'm testifying for him. It's these ghosts that get him into all this trouble.
Of course.
And you were so considerate. You remember you released him in my custody, and nothing has happened since then.
No, madam, nothing has happened until tonight. Bring in Mr. Topper.
Yes, Your Honor.
But what has he done? You know, Your Honor, my husband is a very sedate. In fact, the way he dresses is so sedate, so impeccable, so modest that...
Hello, dear. Happy New Year.
That silly costume. What's the meaning of this, Cosmo? Where did you get those clothes?
Well, Marion made me put them on.
Marion?
That's one of his ghost friends.
Oh. Well, I couldn't let the Kerbys down, Henrietta. It was a real emergency. And the possibility of my never seeing them again.
Mr. Topper, I should think you'd welcome this sort of catastrophe.
Well, on the contrary, Your Honor, I'd be most desolate. I'm very much attached to them.
Yes, dear. But what about the emergency?
Ectoplasm.
Ectoplasm?
Ectoplasm?
Quite. You see, as the year runs out, so does the Kerbys' ectoplasm. Neil almost faded away.
Neil?
He's the St. Bernard. He used to be quite a moderate drinker before he died. Now he's a regular booze hound. Well, George and Marion went off with Neil's tail to get his ectoplasm replenished. I promised to wait for them until they returned. So I settled down with a magazine.
Come on. Come on.
Good heavens, Marion. What on earth? Where's George?
I'm here, Topper.
Well, for heaven's sake, materialize and get that horse out of here.
Topper, George can't materialize and get that horse out of here.
Oh, why can't he?
Because I'm the horse, Topper.
What?
That's right. I got mixed up down at the animal shelter.
Oh, we followed Neil down there, and Neil got into the horse. Well, George got Neil out all right, but now he's in there.
But I don't understand.
Well, don't ask me to explain, Topper. It's much too complex for live people. You just get me back to the animal shelter, and I think I can get back into my own body.
Oh, this is ridiculous. I can't do it. Besides, I'm meeting Henrietta at the Skylar's, and I promised her...
Oh, Topper, you've got to take him back to the animal shelter.
Well, why can't you do it?
Silly. Nobody can see me. Well, they'll think it's a loose horse. They might send poor George to the glue factory.
Well, I'm sure he can outwit them.
Yeah, but can I outrun them? I'm not much of a horse, you know.
Oh, I can see that. Well, I can't possibly lead you through the streets. Men in a tuxedo leading a horse?
Oh, I've taken care of that. Here. Now, you just slip into these, and you can just say you're riding in the 5th race at Belmont.
That's my wife. She thinks of everything.
Just a minute, buddy.
Eh? Oh. Good evening, officer.
Did I just see you bring that horse out of the house?
Well, let's get going, Topper.
Hold your horses, George.
Hold him yourself. Now, you just answer my question. Did you bring that horse out of the house?
Well, as a matter of fact, I did. He's just an old plug I found in the bathtub. Good night, officer.
Oh, no, you don't. There's a luring act.
George, look here.
No time for apologies, Topper. Hoist him on my back, Marion.
Up you go, Topper.
Now, George, look, Gallop. We didn't get very far, of course.
A squad car picked him up with the horse on a corner of Elm and Main, Your Honor.
What were they doing there?
Well, believe it or not, we were waiting for a streetcar. Yes, you see, dear, George wasn't used to being a horse. And he got very tired after a few blocks.
Topper, it's almost New Year's. You've got to get me back to the animal shelter.
I'd be glad to, George, if the judge would only let me.
He's talking to the horse.
He sometimes talks to vacuum cleaners.
Tell him you'll leave Henrietta for a deposit.
Where's Marion?
Oh, she's down at the animal shelter with Neil. He has his ectoplasm now.
Mr. Topper, are you talking to that horse?
Yes, Your Honor.
And does the horse talk to you?
Why, of course. That's why I talked to him.
My husband's very proper, Your Honor. He wouldn't dream of talking to a horse unless the horse talked to him first.
Naturally. What?
Well, all I ask is that you allow me to take George down to the animal shelter. I'd be very glad to report back and face any charges.
But, Cosmo, let me get you a lawyer.
Oh, thank you, dear. I think I'll defend my own case.
Well, that wouldn't be very wise, Mr. Topper. Officer, just what are the charges against Mr. Topper?
Well, for one thing, Your Honor, the horse kicked me.
Well, I'm afraid you'll have to prosecute the horse for that.
Yes, you can hardly hold Mr. Topper responsible if a horse kicks you, officer.
Well, there must be a law against a man leading a horse down the street, sir.
On the contrary, a man and a horse has the right of way over all traffic, including trains. You'll find that in Section 897 in the Traffic Code.
He's perfectly right.
Well, what about that phony getup? I know there's a law against that, sir.
Nothing of the kind. A man can wear any costume he likes at a masquerade party, especially on New Year's Eve.
Officer, if I were Mr. Topper, I'd sue you for false arrest. Case dismissed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Henrietta, you go along home. I'll join you within an hour.
But, Cosmo...
Don't worry, dear. I'll be back in time to see the New Year in with you. Come on, George.
Isn't he amazing?
Amazing. I do believe that man would have made a great lawyer.
And to think he'd rather be a jockey.
Come on, George.
I thought you'd never get here.
Open the stall door, Topper.
George, which one is you?
I'm part of him and part of this horse.
I'll buy that last part. Now get in and make the switch.
Come on, George.
It'll only take a second. That's what he gets for trying out new haunting tricks.
But I'm still rather in the dark as to what actually happened. How did George get to be a horse and vice versa?
Trade secrets. The main thing is we got a fresh charge of ectoplasm, and now we can haunt you for another year.
I don't know what I'd do without you, but there are times when I'd rather.
Well, that's that. A little tougher than I thought.
Are you sure you made a clean switch, dear?
Perfect.
No trace of the horse left in you.
Not a trace.
Well, thank heaven for that.
Well, what are we waiting for? Let's all go home and celebrate.
Good idea. Topper, call Henrietta and have her ice up some champagne.
Yeah, do that. I'll stop off somewhere and pick up a bale of hay.
Produced by John W. Lufton. A John W. Lufton, Bernard L. Schubert production. Starring Ann Jeffries, Robert Sterling, and Leo G. Carroll.